Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm Charlie McGrath, your host, the 23rd day of August, Thursday. Again, I want to give a shout-out to Eric Lovely's wife. I'm glad she's coming home healthy and safely returning tonight. That is the most important thing, as he alluded to at the end of the first hour. This is why we're out here doing what we do, because we care about our friends, families, and loved ones. All right, now, joining us now is a fascinating individual that, again, I can't thank Karen Quinn Tostado enough for taking on the role of helping book guests and line up guests for this program. And she really hit a home run here. Joseph R. Banister is our guest for the next hour. And let me, I alluded to who our guest was going to be, but let me give you a brief summary of what we're going to run down tonight. Because, there's a lot of people that are in the alternative media. There's a lot of people in the truth movement that are observers, right? We sit back, we see the corruption, we report on it. We see the malfeasance in the financial industry, we report on it. We scream from the rooftops about it. But every time we have somebody that was there, did it, saw it, experienced it, these people, in my opinion, are worth 10 people who are observing it from the outside, because they've been in the inside. They can really speak to what's happening in our country, what's happening with our government, what's happening with the rule of law, what's happening with our Constitution. So when we have an opportunity to bring folks like Joseph on, it is a real treat for me personally, because I get to speak with somebody who can tell me, you know what, you're not just you're not a conspiracy theorist. It really is factual, these things you're talking about. And when you try to stand up for yourself, you are labeled an outcast. Joseph, I believe, if I get the years wrong, you can correct me here when I'm done. But in 1993, I believe you joined as a enforcement agent for the Internal Revenue Service, highly decorated agent, and spent about 5 years with the IRS. And at one point posed the question of, is this legal? I mean, is it a fact that we are not obligated to pay federal income tax? Is it a fact that the constitutional amendment that gave us the federal income tax wasn't ratified by the states, so it in turn is not legal? Is it true that we are forcing people to do something that is completely and totally contrary to the Constitution? And Joseph decided to form this question in the form of a letter to his superiors, and I believe the outcome was you got a 7-day break. You got told that at the end of this 7 days, the best thing you could do is tender your resignation, and we're not going to provide you with information on the questions you asked. We're going to provide you with all the forms that you need to submit your resignation. And since then, in some respects, your life has been turned into a hell because you dared to stand up and question the authority of the Internal Revenue Service. Joseph R. Banister, welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. It's an honor to have you here.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you very much for having me on the show, and you did a good job of summarizing, putting everything into a little nutshell.
Well, I don't want to leave it there, because we have a good 50 minutes left to fill, but let's start at the top. I mean, give us your background. I know you didn't start out in 1993. Your experience in accounting precedes that by quite some bit.
That's correct. I was about 30 years old in 1993 when I started working for the IRS. Born and raised in San Jose, California. Pretty much a middle class family. And my father worked for the city of San Jose in the design and construction division. The public works basically. And then as I grew up through high school and college, a lot of my friends and even some of my brothers, well, actually all my brothers for one, got into either law enforcement or fire service. So there was a point there in the early 90s when myself and my 3 younger brothers were all in government service, 2 police officers, 1 federal agent, and 1 firefighter. So my dad had passed away actually in 1993, just shortly before I started work for the IRS. But my mom has this picture that she's overjoyed at, where her 4 sons all have badges and guns in this family picture with her. So I couldn't be, more pro-government or recognizing that there's a need for government. And basically the Banister boys covered local, state, and federal government service. So, that's basically a little background about the family. And
so law enforcement is a tradition in your family, as it is in a lot. That there's a lot of people I know that are in law enforcement that is what they do. Their dad was a cop; they become a cop, type of thing. So and that certainly makes sense. But now, you were looking for a post or looking to get maybe hired on with the FBI? Is that accurate? And then you wanted, while waiting for a spot to come open, you were invited to join the IRS as an enforcement agent. Is that accurate? I hope I'm not butchering the information I read about you today, but I was really cramming for this interview.
No, well, your cramming paid off. I mean, that is what happened. Basically, graduated from college in San Jose State University in 1986. So from 86 until 93, seems like so long ago, I was in the private sector. I graduated with a degree in accounting, and also obtained my CPA certificate, Certified Public Accountant, from the state of California. And basically, as I progressed through the early years of my career after college, I looked at what I was doing every day and what my boss was doing and my boss's boss, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to stand to do this kind of accounting work for another 30 years.
I understand.
So I looked around to friends and family members, and seeing that they were getting into, law enforcement and very interesting jobs. And so I realized that with my accounting and finance background and tax background, that I would actually be, highly sought after were I to apply to certain federal and state investigative agencies. So I began doing that, and when I applied, I, of course, had my heart set on the FBI, because at least up until the time of Ruby Ridge and Waco, the FBI for decades had quite the reputation. It was quite a neat thing to be an FBI agent. They get all the TV shows made about them, and but if you think about how many great, exciting TV
absolutely,
shows are
absolutely,
IRS,
and it might
zero.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's none there. And
right. So
the FBI guys always get the chicks in the movies, and you're 20-something years old. So I could see you wanting to gravitate towards that. You bet.
Yeah. And I applied to both the FBI and the IRS at the same time because of an IRS special agent who was a friend of the family was suggesting that to me, and he put me in touch with various FBI agents who counseled me on what it would be like to work for the FBI. And I really thought that the FBI was going to be my career path, but there was a hiring freeze back in the early 90s, back when our good buddy Newt Gingrich was handling things in Congress, and there was a hiring freeze. And so the FBI, even though I had qualified to be hired as a special agent and had gone through all of the rigorous psychiatric training, physical training, mental training, testing, and things, they couldn't hire me. So meanwhile, the IRS Criminal Investigation Division in San Francisco called me and asked me if I'd be interested in a special agent position there. And frankly, at that point, I had been waiting about 2 years for the FBI hiring freeze to lift. So I was getting really anxious. And basically, my family members, my wife, my mom, my extended family were saying, "Hey, Joe, how long are you going to wait, for this FBI ship to come to shore?"
So plus you're looking, at this point, a job would be nice. Yeah, no doubt about it. Especially something that isn't going to be cubicle land, a cube-bot for the rest of your career. Hang tight for 1 second, Joseph. We're going to do our first break of your appearance. We're going to be back in 3 minutes. I want to finish building the background of Joseph, because it's important to show that this isn't somebody who just heard something from somebody and is reporting it. He lived it. So we're going to be back with Joseph and more Wide Awake News Radio, 3.5 minutes. Dow Jones first crossed the 10,000 point mark.
Back then, our national debt was $6 trillion. You could buy an ounce of gold for around $250 and an ounce of silver for around $5. Now, there's a lot of folks in alternative media and mainstream media asking the question, when are we going to see the next financial crisis? Well, for myself and the folks over at Austin Rare Coin, we believe that time is now. It's called sovereign debt fiat currency crisis. Now, let's review. 1999, 10,000 points on the Dow. 2012, after trillions of dollars being spent, 13,000 points. We've seen our national debt explode from $6 trillion to nearly $16 trillion. Gold from $250 an ounce to over $1,600 an ounce, and silver from $5 to over $30 an ounce. Gold and silver, that is planet Earth's currency. It has been for 5,000 years. It will be for the next 5,000 years. If you have wealth you are trying to protect, I highly recommend and encourage you to call Gabe Elton and the folks over at Austin Rare Coin, 1-800-552-4109. They support alternative media. They support getting the truth out, so let's support them. Austin Rare Coin, 1-800-552-4109, or visit them online, austincoins.com.
Remember this name, Carnivora. That's CARNIVORA.com. What if I told you that this 100% pure and natural product was delivered directly to the White House at President Reagan's personal request at a time when only the president was able to obtain it? Reagan used this amazing product, Carnivora, successfully, a product derived only from nature that has the intelligence to instinctively attack abnormal cells only without harming a single normal cell, and the power to actually wake up critical immune cells from dormancy to attack foreign invaders that don't belong in our bodies. Carnivora is now obtainable by anyone who wants to get healthy and stay that way. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and protect yourself with 17 naturally occurring compounds that will unleash powerful immune defense. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and get your Carnivora today. Visit carnivora.com.
Will 2012 bring the Mayan end of world or the global banking collapse? In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. This week, Mike unleashes 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, your host. We have Joseph Banister, former IRS special agent in the enforcement division of the IRS, as our guest tonight. Now, Joe painted a picture for us in the first segment of how he came to be looking for a job in law enforcement. You know, he runs history in his family, but he isn't just a guy looking to pack and tote a gun. He's a CPA. So, I mean, his history is educated. He's an educated man who wanted to follow in the family tradition and did so. Looked for the FBI. The FBI wasn't doing any hiring. Ended up getting a call from the IRS, and thus began a short but apparently meteoric rise, at least with the credentials that are listed in this bio and on your website, in the IRS until one day you asked the wrong question. So let me start by saying, if you guys want to read more after the program about Joe's experience, you can go to freedombeforefortune.com and or agentfortruth.com. Is it agent FORTRUTH?
Agent for Truth, correct, but it's actually Freedom Above Fortune.
Freedom Above Fortune. Okay, I'll put that link. I have that pulled up right now, and I apparently can't even read the domain name that's right in front of me, freedomabovefortune.com. I'll put that link into chat right now. And if you want to check that site out, you can also check out agentfortruth.com. Those are Joseph's sites, and you can get more details than we're going to be able to give you in this hour program. So you got a call from the IRS looking for agents. Take it from there.
Yeah, so that was about August of 1993, and again, I was waiting and waiting for an FBI call because I was ready to go. I had survived all the various evaluations that they had done and was just waiting, and as you kind of alluded to, I needed to find gainful employment and was really just hanging on with contract work and just waiting for that government enforcement job. So the IRS called at a time when I was, you could almost say desperate, but I'd just been waiting for so long and qualified. So, but I was still hesitant because, we are talking about working for the IRS, and that has, for most people,
stigma.
Kind of a stigma. But as I talked more with my friend, who ended up becoming my boss down the road, he pointed out, which correctly, that they were considered and probably still are the premier financial investigators in the world. They're looked to for all countries and how to investigate financial crimes. And I had a background that would fit right into that. And then, as you mentioned, I had my CPA certificate, and it certainly made my bones in the private sector. And so it really ended up, I thought, would be a pretty good fit, and I would just have to deal with the reputation that the IRS had. And my intention was to deal with that reputation by being as professional and as polite and as possible in doing my job, and of course
right.
Holding the highest integrity, and of course adhering to my oath to support and defend the Constitution, which is something they administer to every federal government servant, including IRS criminal investigators, on day one. So, I felt that I could maybe not change the entire IRS reputation, but that I was
right.
Sure.
And let's point out that to become an IRS investigative special agent, it's like going to work for the FBI or probably a top secret clearance in the military. They do an extensive background check. You didn't leave disgruntled because they found something out about you. If they were going to find something out about Joseph, it was going to be in the incredible background check they do beforehand. They even audit you before considering you for a position as agent. You passed all that with flying colors, and then in 1993, you were made a special agent in the investigative arm of the Internal Revenue Service, correct?
That's absolutely right. There's about 3,000 IRS special agents in the country. Not all of them are, on the street doing investigations, but that's the approximate number that are investigating criminal violations of the federal tax and money laundering laws. And so right away, what I wanted to do was differentiate myself and not be just locked away in a room because I was a CPA. He'll just count all the beans and keep all the papers straight. I wanted to do some, exciting law enforcement work, so I tried right away to get into money laundering investigations and was successful at doing that, and actually had some pretty big casework very quickly, and actually some cases that we had to investigate across the country and also do joint investigations with the DEA, the FBI, the U.S. Customs Service. And so my experience level, I gained experience rapidly because I was really hungry for, money laundering type cases. I had to work tax cases also because basically as you're evaluated for promotions, if you skip tax investigations entirely, and that doesn't bode well for your, stepping up the ladder. So,
and certainly you did the things necessary to step up the ladder. If you want, you were playing the corporate game. I mean, this was the government corporate game. In 95, you received a Special Act Award. In 96, you received a Performance Award. 97, sustained Super Performance or Superior, Superior Performance Award in 97. Top Athlete Award in 97 as well. Promotion to Grade 13 before 5 years of employment anniversary, and I'm assuming that's like a GS-13, which is a very high level government position, or at least a grade to attain. That's your pay grade 13. So this is what we've established. Joe is the real deal. He's an accountant. He's a CPA. He's educated. He's got the background to be in one of the elite arms of government, the IRS investigation units. He made the cut. He did everything he was supposed to do. He made the cut. We're going to find out what happened when he stepped up for what he took an oath to take to stand up for on the backside of this break. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, it's Charlie McGrath with Wide Awake News Radio and WideAwakeNews.com. In 2007, 26 million Americans were on food stamps. 2012, the numbers exploded to over 46 million people relying on the government to put food on the table. Debt's out of control across the planet, pushing us towards a financial Armageddon. Talk of war seems to fill every newscast. And disasters, both man-made and natural, seem to be on the rise. Can you think of a better time in history than now to be prepared for the unexpected? Guys, I want to introduce you to our new partners in alternative media. BuyEmergencyFoods.com. BuyEmergencyFoods.com offers the best kind of emergency food, Legacy Premium, with the largest variety available in the freeze-dried food industry. Each meal is packed for freshness in an individual nitrogen-flushed Mylar pouch. The meal is then sealed in a stackable, heavy-duty plastic container that's easy to store, easy to transport, and won't be damaged by water or rodents. So if you're worried about food inflation, economic crisis, unemployment, natural disaster, then don't delay. Prepare your family now. Visit our new partners in alternative media, BuyEmergencyFoods.com. Give them a call at 888-543-7345, or again, visit them at BuyEmergencyFoods.com.
You're listening to Charlie nationwide and worldwide on the Internet, on the Rense Radio Network.
Are you in debt, having sleepless nights, sick of constant creditor phone calls? Want a guaranteed solution? Become a member of DebtorManagementSystems.com, and we will take all of your creditor calls. That's right, we'll manage all of your creditor calls. Go to DebtorManagementSystems.com and join up today. Or call 855-332-8782. That's 855-332-8782. Join today and take the stress out of your life. Are you having trouble paying your mortgage? Maybe your mortgage loan is upside down or in foreclosure. Maybe the bank already foreclosed on you. Don't be a victim of bank fraud. Fight back. Here's how. Go to InspectorAudit.com and find out the truth about your loan. Did you know that 78% of the loans in the last 10 years violated consumer credit laws? We should not let the banks get away with that kind of fraud. Go to InspectorAudit.com or call 855-373-4948. That's 855-373-4948. And start fighting bank fraud today.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. If you are ready to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then you're ready for Heart and Body Extract from Healthy Hearts Club. Heart and Body Extract has a 23-year proven track record of using certified organic herbs that make up an excellent formula to balance and support the heart and circulatory system. In as little as 2 weeks, you can feel amazing results when your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
All right, guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. We are joined by Joseph Banister, former IRS special agent, criminal enforcement, law enforcement division. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but we've established at this point in time that, you know, that it's not a fluke. You cannot be a fluke and end up at the level, to have the level of success Joseph did with the IRS. Everything has to line up right. You have to be you're vetted. That's the best way to describe it. You're vetted far more than it seems. Even our presidents are vetted. You're not going to achieve the level of success Joe did by accident. So, Joseph, where did it all go wrong? I mean, you have 5-6 years in the IRS. You're doing the right things. You're investigating tax fraud, perhaps, and money laundering. You're doing all the things you need to do. What happened? I mean, what went wrong in the eyes of the IRS?
Well, I had expected to spend a full 20-year career there. The nice thing, I guess you could say, is that a law enforcement someone who serves in a law enforcement capacity in the federal government has a 20-year retirement rather than a 30-year retirement. So actually I would have been retiring next year, 2013. But, I intended to spend a full career there. And about 3 years into my service at the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, I was listening to a talk radio show, as I did quite frequently. And this talk show host out in the San Francisco Bay Area had a guest on his show, and you probably heard her name, D.V. Kidd.
Sure.
And D.V. Kidd was a guest. She was a guest.
Well, D.V. Kidd was actually on this network, the Rinse Radio Network. She was a radio host here. I believe she's out of Texas. She was a radio host here for a couple years before she went back to doing more activism work out of home.
Yeah, so she was talking that particular day back in 1996, late 1996, about 3 years into my IRS career, about the income tax, about the Federal Reserve, about the New World Order, all these kinds of issues that the training had told me was a bunch of bunk, and these wacko people that have all these strange beliefs. And I normally would have dismissed what she said, but I had already been listening to this Jeff Metcalf talk show for a couple of years, and I found him to be, whatever he said would always check out, whatever his guests would say or claim would always check out. And so it really, some synapses were exploding in my brain as this guy that I thought I trusted would have a woman on his show, D.V. Kidd, saying that the income tax that I was, at that time enforcing, but prior to that had been schooled at, San Jose State and the CPA exam about the income tax. She was basically attacking the very thing that my entire life was based on, at least my professional and career life. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't have run into a greater skeptic of what she was saying. However, because she was saying it on his show, Jeff's show, and because Jeff had always been truthful in the past, it caused me to look into what she was saying. And she offered a couple booklets that she only charged like $1 a piece. And so I sent away for those booklets, and inside was just this treasure trove of information with names, phone numbers, and what various people were claiming about the income tax, about the Federal Reserve, about the New World Order, about what's really going on in the federal government. And for an investigator like myself, of course, I love facts. I mean, things that can actually be verified. And Devi did a pretty good job, just in little booklets, of verifying what she said and what she wrote. She also put in telephone numbers of some of the people that made these claims about, say, for example, the federal income tax. And so I decided to actually call some of these people.
Now, at this point, were you calling them to square them away, or were you calling just to validate what they said? I mean, did you announce yourself as an IRS agent? Were they terrified?
Well, basically, most of the time I'd get a voicemail or a telephone, recorder, but I would leave a message that said something like this: "Hi, my name is Joe Banister, and although I work as an IRS special agent, I'm not calling you in that capacity." Now you can imagine how much they couldn't have possibly believed me,
right.
But it was the truth. I said I'm calling really as just a private citizen or concerned citizen, and I read these claims that you made and D.V. Kidd published, and I'd like to find out more about it. I found out later that some of the people that I called were just blown away. Like, this guy couldn't possibly truly be just wanting to find these things out in all sincerity. But in fact, I was. And in fact, after a certain amount of time, they found that I was sincere and I wasn't trying to rope them into some, undercover operation or sting, get them in trouble. I was truly trying to determine who was telling me the truth and just pursuing it like any investigator would. Fast forwarding, it took about 2 years of off-duty research and investigation, starting with DV Kids materials, but then ramping into, checking out the actual court cases, the actual statutes, the actual facts, and the original documents. And it took me about 2 years, while still going to work every day as an IRS criminal investigator, to conclude that there was some real lying, deceit that was going on, and it wasn't the so-called tax protesters and citizens, it was the IRS as an agency, and its hierarchy that was actually lying to the American public about their tax obligations. Now, what I decided to do, of course, I was a CPA, but I wasn't a Supreme Court justice or an attorney. I could have made a mistake in my analysis. So I went to my supervisors at the IRS and I requested that they review my a report that I had put together that gave basically just some of the highlights of what I had encountered, what I had found during my investigation. And I asked them to review it and then to basically meet with me and show me the error of my analysis, if there was any error. Right. And I submitted my report to people that took the same oath to support and defend the Constitution that I did. They were governed by the same policies in terms of ethics. And so I figured, they're not going to like this. They're not going to like to deal with it, but they're going to have to because they have a duty to, just like I do. The reaction to my report and my request was acted upon pretty swiftly.
Now, this is your February 8th, 1999 letter that you submitted to your superior supervisory special agent, Robert Blank. I won't give his last name. That you have as Exhibit 1, I believe, in your story, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I just want to read an excerpt of this, and this might take us to our last break. This is undoubtedly the most difficult letter I've ever written in my life. Still, my duty as a citizen, my duty as a federal law enforcement officer sworn to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and my adherence to the Old Testament's 9th commandment, which prohibits me from bearing false witness against my neighbor, requires that it be written. As you know, I have been employed as a special agent for the U.S. Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation Division since 1993. My education, training, and experience gained prior to being appointed an agent with the U.S. Department of Treasury includes, and then you'll list your experience. Now, then you go on to lay out what you see as obvious wrongdoing, and their response, go ahead. I mean, this is unbelievable. Go ahead.
Their response was that they wouldn't be reviewing my report or responding to it in any way, and that they would send me home for 7 days of administrative leave. And I was supposed to just sit there and wait, that don't call us, we'll call you. And then at the end of that 7-day period, contact us and let us know what you want to do next. So they didn't fire me, but they basically placed the ball in my court as to, hey, we're sending you home for a week, and we're taking away your key card to the office and your firearm. And
right. And I read an excerpt of that letter, return letter, and it is consider your future with the IRS. And we're not going to give you the papers information you want, but we certainly will give you the papers you need to tender your resignation. We're going to be back with Joseph Banister to talk about the ongoing IRS and what the culture in the IRS is in 3.5 minutes. Hang tight.
Represents inflation in our country, 2%. Now, maybe that's true if we back out necessity items we need just to live, such as energy and food. But the fact of the matter is, I don't have to tell you food prices are on the increase. They have been for years, and it's going to continue to rise. The real question is, are we getting better quality food for this increase in price? According to the CDC, the answer is no. A March 2012 report shows foodborne illnesses are on the rise. Guys, we are so lucky to have the folks at SeedsNow.com as sponsors of Wide Awake News Radio. Not only are Chris and the folks at SeedsNow.com offering thousands of non-GMO, non-hybrid, non-Frankenfood seeds that can go out the door today, they're looking to the future as well and offering outstanding values on things such as the Mini Mega Seed Bank with over 48,000 seeds and the Mega Super Survival Seed Kit with over 58,000 seeds. SeatsNow.com is a sponsor of Wide Awake News Radio because they care about alternative media and they care about getting the truth out. So let's support those that support alternative media. And if you go there today and put in the promo code WideAwake10, you will receive an instant 10% discount on all your orders. So please visit SeatsNow.com and use the promo code WideAwake10 to receive your discount.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
In 2010, millions became awakened to the reality of chemtrails. These geoengineering programs have broad environmental and human health consequences. Why in the world are they spraying? Is a stunning investigation into one of the agendas associated with chemtrailing and weather control. What are the military uses of chemtrails? Is the public slowly being poisoned? What are the financial market implications of these programs? How does geoengineering fit with Agenda 21? How do chemtrails advance the GMO agenda? For the answers to these and many more critical questions, order Why in the World Are They Spraying? Today at www.whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com. This powerhouse film will also be premiering and streaming live August the 18th at the 3-day event Consciousness Beyond Chemtrails Conference. And visit cbclive2012.com for more details. And by all means, visit whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com.
Make a promise, take a vow, and trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning.
Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. We have Joseph Banister with us, former IRS agent. He brought to his boss the evidence that, you know, the enforcement of this, the income tax, violates the oath that Joseph and every other IRS agent has taken. And instead of being patted on the back and saying, you know what, here's the answers of why we do it, he was sent home for a week and told to reconsider his career choice. And Joseph, my question now is, what exactly, you know, I guess we have about 12 minutes left. What exactly did you bring to them to have them to get this irate with you and get this defensive?
Well, there were various topics, and again, the report that I provided to them was only a sampling really, because it was mountains of data and documents indicating that, you know, the IRS is violating the law on multiple fronts. But basically, some of the topics included withholding, you know, and whether someone is actually required by law to have income tax withheld from their paycheck, whether or not the 16th Amendment, you alluded to this at the beginning of the show, whether or not the 16th Amendment was actually ratified. And, of course, the government and the courts, they've fought tooth and nail to not address that issue. And we have to recognize that that's a fact. You know, they just will try to sweep it under the rug. But the fact is that the 16th Amendment was not properly ratified because there's just massive fraud that went on to kind of, you know, put that square peg in a round hole so that they could usher in all that we're experiencing today and use the 16th Amendment as the excuse. But the fact of the matter is that it's a bastard child from day one. It was not properly ratified. There's ample evidence to prove it. And I don't so much rely on the fact that it wasn't ratified as the reason that there's a problem, because, in fact, the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that the 16th Amendment did not expand federal taxing power. So it's a big deal that it was fraudulently ratified, but it's almost irrelevant when you consider that the Supreme Court has said it didn't give the government any more power than it had before the 16th Amendment, and that's a critical issue. Other things as far as how the IRS lies to the American public about what income is, because of course they call it an income tax, and the tax is a tax on income. So you have to know what income actually is. And the IRS lies to the average worker, the average American worker, who trades their time for money, and their time is their property. And that's not, so says Joe Banister, that's what the Supreme Court says, that your time is your property. And so when you go and work for a living, you do not realize a gain in the constitutional sense, and there would have to be a gain in order for there to be income. And so there's just mountains of evidence. There's a gentleman named Phil Hart who wrote a book called Constitutional Income, Do You Have Any? Could maybe put that into a search engine, but a fascinating topic. Also, truthattack.org, there's what they call a law library section there where people can learn more about what I'm describing, because the topic is huge. It takes forever to talk about.
Right.
But those are some of the issues that I was discussing, and pretty massive issues if you consider that hundreds of millions of Americans throughout the decades, at least since World War II, if the possibility is really there that they're paying an income tax on money that's not income, and that they're basically having to pay it through intimidation, deceit, then that's something worthy of speaking up about. And I felt it was worthy of that, but that caused me to lose my job there. I basically, in order to adhere to my oath to support and defend the Constitution, I had to resign from my job.
And when you wrote the letter of I guess threatening resignation, or stating the fact that without answers to these you'd be forced to resign, certainly they were more than happy to provide you with the right paperwork to make sure the resignation was speedy and permanent. But
yes.
I know for a fact that there was a lot of things that happened to you since then. That have been, I don't know how else you could describe it other than revenge against you for speaking out. I don't know if we'll be able to get into all that. We certainly need to have you back on. But let's look at the two things that you just brought up. The 16th Amendment, which the Supreme Court says does not give government any more ability to collect income tax from or to collect any tax. It doesn't give any additional power. Well, that's certainly not what most people believe, is it?
No, it's not. And yet, like I say, it's not your opinion or my opinion. Just go look it up in the Supreme Court cases. I mean, they're over and over again. That's what their opinion is. So if people could educate themselves more instead of just listening to what the IRS tells them, which is many times often deceitful, they'd find what the real truth is.
And when people do stand up and say, look, this is voluntary and I choose not to volunteer, it isn't like it's that simple. You're not going to just stop being bothered by the IRS. They're coming after you, correct? Right.
And I discourage people from taking on the IRS. I mean, if your conscience is really pulling you to do it, then, have at it. But it is still a nightmare agency to deal with, and people really need to do their homework ahead of time. And at least so far, they're not reading our minds quite yet, although they're getting close to it. People should just educate themselves, and there's no harm in doing that. Just don't take any action or inaction. Stand pat and just educate yourself and learn the landscape of what's going on before you change or alter your lifestyle at all.
Yeah, because they're not going to adhere to the principles that you have. They're going to come get what they want to come get, and you will end up in a court, and you will lose. Correct? I mean,
not always, but basically, a lot of what the IRS does is they can do in house. There is no court that's even involved, and that's the real problem. Is that the IRS has a unilateral authority that it exerts, although it doesn't actually have it when you look at the actual laws, but it does exert that kind of authority and basically covers everything. It's one branch serves all, one branch cheats all. And so there's no accountability because the Congress is largely afraid of the IRS, the judiciary is largely afraid of the IRS. So whatever they want to do and can get away with, they're going to do. And that's what you're up against, and that's why I discourage people from just, walking in thinking, well, I've got rights and I've got the truth on my side. You can be right, but you may be dead right.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The what is income thing. Let's touch on that for just a second. You're trading you're trading your time, your life, your hours of living on this planet. You're trading this to an employer for pay. It's not income. This is a representation of your true property. Maybe detail that a little bit.
Well, incredibly, the way the IRS gets away with this, and I hope I'll explain it in a way that will convey the problem, but the IRS treats your work, or my work, if we work for ourselves to survive, to sustain our lives, to have a zero basis, to have a zero value. So if I make $30 an hour, the IRS claims that my $30 an hour work is worth zero. So my gain is $30 that I received minus zero basis or cost in generating that $30, and hence I have a $30 gain. So even though you get paid $30 to do the work, obviously that's the value of your work. Otherwise, why would somebody pay you $30 for it? But the IRS will say that, the value of your work was zero, and you received $30, so your gain is $30. Yet, if you were working for someone else and they were paying you $30, they could deduct the $30 they were paying you because that's the value of what you're being paid. So it's a double standard, and it's really outrageous and ridiculous. But again, people don't really understand how it works. They read too many IRS pamphlets, and if you just do a little digging, you'd find it's a complete scam. It's really a nightmare of deceit.
Well, I have absolutely no doubt that you're 100% right, and I have absolutely nothing but respect for you throwing away. In one respect, you're throwing away a career. In the other respect, you're standing up for your principles and what you believe in, and you can look at yourself in the mirror and sleep well at night because you do not take part in this con. We talked a little bit during the break. We have only about a minute left. But, it's been my belief that for the last 4 years, we've been listening to terms like austerity. We've been witnessing what happens when a government decides it's time to go ahead and paper over failure of a select few and pretend that everything's okay. And we've seen this. We've seen this over the last 4.5 years where all this money's being dumped into our system in order to, fake normalcy. But at some point, and I believe in the near future, this is all going to change. It's going to come time to pay for this. It's going to come time to extract some of that, some of your life vis-a-vis your hard work to pay for this bailing out and pay for this papering over. It's not a coincidence that we see, with Obamacare being passed in this legislation, the budgeting of 16,000 new IRS agents. That's not a coincidence. We're not going to see this 50% plus of the population on some kind of government assistance. This isn't going to go on forever and ever. There will come a time, and again, I believe in the near future, that they're going to come looking for everything. And they're going to use, former colleagues of Joseph to do just that. It doesn't have to be legal. It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be constitutional. It doesn't have to be just. They're going to try to do this, plain and simple. Joseph Banister, thank you very much for coming on tonight. I greatly appreciate your courage, and I greatly appreciate you coming back on here. We'll get you on again soon. There's tons more stuff we could cover, so thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Charlie. Take care.
You too. Guys, enjoy Jeff Rense because he's coming up next. I will have this interview posted up on YouTube later tonight. If not, or if you want to watch or listen to the whole entire 2-hour program, you can also access the archives at RINS.com. All right, guys, thank you very much. Tomorrow night, Karen Quinn Tostado, the great Karen Quinn Tostado, will be hosting 2 hours of Karen's Corner. That schedule, thanks to her, is posted in the chat room here. You can check out who she's going to have on. Have a good night. Enjoy, Jeff. Peace.
Seconds could get me in a lot of trouble. I just created a free video presentation at 123RENS.com that exposes the electricity monopolies and government agencies for what they really are: incompetent, lying crooks that are counting on your ignorance and fear to keep your power bills criminally high. Some have called this a conspiracy. Others have called it a cover-up, and you'll be shocked to find out how deep the conspiracy goes. My video at 123RENS.com exposes the truth and shows you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Watch the controversial video that thousands of other smart patriots have already seen in the last 3 months. Go to 123RENS.com and discover one weird trick to slash your power bill and protect your home. Go watch my video now at 123RENS.com before they force me to shut it down. Again, that's 123RENSE.com.
Are you struggling to reclaim your health? Let me share my story quick. My nightmare of chronic fatigue, PTSD, and autoimmune issues cost me everything. A bankruptcy, loss of home, even my wife walked out on me with no hope in sight. A miracle happened after hitting my lowest point. I discovered ION and RNA drops. It literally saved my life. I want to share my story with you and offer you a trial-size mini bottle of RNA drops. Visit www.rnafreemini.com. Again, that's www.rnafreemini.com. It's time to take your power back now. You can also check out our ad online at rents.com. RNA drops.
You're listening to the Rents Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rents.com.